Hello, and welcome to Doc Talk. I'm Tara Perre, Race Director with the Community First Fox Cities Marathon presented by Myron Construction. Doc Talk is your chance to ask questions of experts from our sponsors, and we are very lucky to have many medical experts with us. We have Ascension, ThedaCare, Orthopedic Sports Institute of the Fox Valley, and orthopedic and sports medicine specialists. And joining me today is JP Larson. He is with ThedaCare Orthopedic Care, and he is a physical therapist with them. Thanks for joining us, JP.
Thanks for having me, Tara. I'm excited. Thank you.
Awesome. It's so fun to have you back. I know we had you last year and kind of got this series kicked off. So today we're going to talk mostly about getting training started. So if you're someone out there that's still thinking about getting going, maybe you want to do a 5K or a 10K, or maybe you're jumping up to a longer distance, JP is going to work through some of those questions for us. So let's just start off with just some general tips about getting started with a training program.
Okay. Well, again, Tara, thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here. We as ThedaCare's, one of the sponsors of the event. We're excited to be part of this, and I know we're offering during some of the training runs to be present at some of those. So hopefully, if you have more questions after the talk, you can see one of us in person at one of those runs that are set up through the pace setters. But it's just exciting that, can I just first off start off by saying, like, yay, we're all going to do this in person this year. This is amazing. So I know for myself personally, I'm really excited about this event. If we look back in the history of the event, like last year it got canceled because of COVID. 2 years ago, there was a lightning storm and terrible thunderstorms that canceled. So nobody's done this event since 2018, really, right? So there may be many of us out there that, maybe haven't been able to do this kind of event in quite a while. So we may be a little behind the 8 ball in our training. So, I'd love to just talk to a little bit about that first. So if you're just going to get started and you haven't really been running yet, you still have time to do some of these events. You may want to think about which event you choose based on how much running you've already done. So one of the simple things that I would think about is how much, and being honest with myself, how ready am I for an event, and what event best fits me where I am right now so that I can best enjoy this event. So if I haven't run at all, I may want to look at the events that don't have as much distance, 5K, 10K, half. If I've been running through the pandemic because it's kept my sanity and I've been running lots of extra miles because I just need to get out there, then maybe you need to look at the full event and hone in on that training and look at what are the finer points, because I've already been running this much to get me to a level of, high achievement in that event. So that's some of the stuff I'd like to talk about today with you is that. But I think the first number one thing we need to remind ourselves is be kind to myself, think and be honest with myself about where am I in the continuum and what should I best pick. So picking the event is the first thing I think you need to think about. So
that is great advice. And thanks for doing the shout out to the training runs, because those are every Saturday. We have the wonderful pace setters that put those on for us. They meet at 7 a.m. at Runaway Shoes in Appleton. So, and ThedaCare is there every weekend with us. So it's a great resource for you if you're out there and you're noticing something with your training that you just want a little bit extra advice, and you get that one-on-one attention. So it's very much appreciated. So thank you for being part of that.
Oh, we're happy to do it. I was there last weekend and got to talk to a few runners. It was nice to see a group of people together running, and just to gather together again just feels so good to do. So I was excited to be there.
That's awesome. So now if you're thinking about jumping in, I know those training runs are geared right now for our half and marathon distances. We will have some programs coming later on for the 5K, 10K. So I think your point about just building up some base miles is a good place to start. If you're looking at 5K, 10K, because then you'll be ready for those trainings to kick off probably in a month or so. So maybe let's think about you're one of those people that picked up running during the pandemic, and you're thinking about jumping in and doing the half or the full. What are some things that they should be thinking about from a training perspective?
Yeah, so thing that a lot of times I'll talk to runners about are
I'm going to stop you. We're having technical difficulties again.
okay.
I don't know if it's my connection or your connection, but it's going in and out. Can you hear me still? Or are you frozen?
I can hear you. You can hear me?
Yep. Yep. Shoot. I can see you and hear you, but it's like your mouth is, it's like an old Bruce Lee movie where you say something and then your mouth is later. Try again. Did I lose you?
Base. Are you losing me again?
Yep. Shoot.
I don't know what else on my end, to be honest with you.
You wonder what?
I don't know what else I can do from my end.
I know.
I'm as close to a window as I can get.
Well, now you're good again. So let's maybe do that last question again, because then we can hopefully splice it together. So
Sure.
I'll just pause for a little bit and then I'll re-ask the question.
Sure.
So let's think about it from, someone that's been running all throughout the pandemic. They've been building up good mileage and maybe they're ready for that half or full distance and they can start joining us on Saturdays. What would you tell them as far as getting started with a training program?
Well, I think number one, it's not just the training program. You want to make sure you're fully prepared, whether it's a training one or whether it's the race. So thinking about like your footwear, how up to date is it? Do you need new shoes? You're going to be running a lot. If you're going to be training for the marathon, you're going to be putting in a lot of miles. So it may be a good time to start with a new pair of shoes so that you can run through that training. You might want to buy 2 pairs of shoes so you can alternate, and then race day, you're not putting a brand new pair of shoes on, because that's an easy mistake a lot of people make, is you don't want to be running your first 26.2 miles in a brand new pair of shoes. So doing simple things like that and looking at, what kind of equipment do I need if you've never run a marathon before and you're going to be doing some of this on your own. Do I need some sort of water belt, or do I need something that I can bring with me to help me hydrate? So planning those things out. And that's the nice thing about having these training runs, is a lot of that's already done for you. You can just go out and run kind of like the event. It's set for you. You don't have to think about some of these other things. They're already done for you. So getting yourself in habits of, hey, race day is on Sunday. I should be doing my long runs on a Sunday so that my body's kind of prepared. I'm in that rhythm of the week to know, hey, this is when I'm going to be doing this. Running your training runs at the times that you're going to be running the event is also really smart to do. And then just watching your mileages and thinking about, how fast do I really need to run some of these? It's okay to have many runs throughout the week that are actually at a slower pace than race pace. One of the biggest mistakes I see and end up seeing people injured from is every single run I go out, I run my race pace. And that is just going to lead you to run yourself into the ground, especially the longer distance you're training for. If you're running every marathon run at race pace, you just will not make it. You will usually injure yourself, and that's not going to be healthy for your body, and you're not going to achieve your goals. So taking time to have shorter runs that are at a slower distance, or maybe you have a few runs during the week where you're going to run at a little faster tempo, but not doing too much too fast too soon. So looking at those things.
That's great. And probably just, kind of piggybacking on that, listening to your body. So if you are getting to that point where you feel like, hey, something may be off, it's better to take a rest day. Most training programs have rest built in. Another thing I hear people talk about is cross training. So how important is cross training when it comes to getting started with a training program for an event like this?
Yeah, Tara, I'm glad you brought that up. I was actually just going to start talking about that too, with what you just said about, rest days. So, I mean, there's many things that are going to aid you when you're running. And so, when I see injured runners, often I'm looking at, hey, your flexibility isn't helping this part of your form, or your strength in your core area is causing this mechanical problem with your gait and leading to this knee injury. So doing things that build up those areas that running doesn't touch on, like, honestly, your core is not, I mean, you're using it, but in a state that's not necessarily the same as if you did like a core class at a workout center, or even some YouTube videos are pretty good at working our core. or a yoga class is fantastic because I'm working my core and I'm adding to my flexibility, which will help my form. Swimming can be a wonderful cross-training thing because there's no impact at all. So your body is going to take impact with the running that you're doing. And if you're constantly doing that impact 5-6 days a week, sometimes it'll break down. You know, when you get older like me, you can't do that every day. You got to take different days, and maybe you bike a couple days a week to keep your cardio up and you still keep good strength in your legs, but your back isn't taking that pounding or your feet aren't taking that pounding 6 days a week. Maybe you could do that when you're in your 20s, but you know, when you get older, sometimes you need some of that breakup in your week to do that. So as long as you're kind of, my guideline is as long as you're getting 3 really pretty decent runs in a week, you should be able to handle a distance of 26.2 miles or 13.1 miles. You know, it depends on what your achievement's looking at. If you're looking to finish, you're going to be fine. If you're looking to achieve, then you're probably going to have to run more than that each week. So
That's a good point. And, you know, and I think setting those goals is really important. And, you know, when I ran my first marathon, I had several goals so that I could give myself a break, right? Like I'd achieve one of them and the one was just that I'm going to finish.
yep.
So, you know, can you talk a little bit about goal setting and, you know, maybe how you've used that in your running, you know, just as a runner?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think the best goal, the goal you need to keep most dear to your heart is, I need to finish this event. You know, if you've done it a number of times and you're at that level where you're gonna really shoot for the stars and try to qualify for Boston, you know, good for you. That's awesome, and you can have those goals. But if this is your first or second time running a marathon, just being able to run that event, I mean, you're a high achiever just by being able to do that. So give yourself a little grace that, hey, I can do this, and I'm going to finish this event. And if I don't run I remember the first one I ran, I got the little wristband that had the times written down there for all my splits. And I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I remember getting to like the 6th split and being like, yep, this isn't happening today, and ripping it off. It was like the day that I ran. So I was like, this isn't happening. So you have to kind of look and train as best you can for those things, but setting those goals and then giving yourself some grace on those goals is really, I think, a smart idea, because you're going to get a lot more enjoyment out of the event if you look at it from the right perspective. So you're right. So looking at those goals early on, and if you can achieve some of those things, then patterning your training to do some of those things so that you can reach those goals, and setting out and looking for a training plan that's the right one for you. There are 1,000 training plans out there. We have that's out there. We're not saying that's for everybody and that's perfect, but you have to find what works best for you. And if you're around other runners or you're at one of those training runs, ask the other runners who are more experienced, what training do you do and how do you do this? And you know, learning from other people who have done it before can really be an aid. You know, I remember one of the first times I started running longer distances, I didn't know how to fuel my body during the run, and I would drink all this Gatorade, and I'd get to mile 16 and my legs would be dead, and I'm like, I'm drinking a ton of Gatorade, why isn't this working? And my boss actually at the time was an excellent endurance athlete, and she said, try this goo stuff. Like every 2 miles or every 30 minutes, take a goo packet and see how it goes. And I couldn't believe it. The next weekend I went out and I ran 20 miles and I was like, this was amazing. So it's learning all those little things along the way that really do help. So tap on the experience that you have around you, or ask questions, and then, you know, give yourself some grace and be patient with what you choose, and be willing to modify some of your goals if, you know, your training doesn't quite go the way you want. You know, maybe you get close to race day and a couple weeks before and you need to switch events, or, you know, but still make it something you can achieve, and be okay with that. There's nothing wrong. I mean, running in and of itself is an achievement in my eyes. So
Definitely. I totally agree. So that's great. I think we've touched on a number of great topics. You did hit on one more topic that I'm going to ask you about. You mentioned the heat. And I think the weather is another thing that maybe people don't think about in their training. And, you know, if it's a rainy day, if it's a hot day, if it's a cold day, keep with it, because it's going to tell you a lot about how your body's going to respond. So, you know, advice as far as the weather goes?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the fun part and what I've always talked to friends who like to run, what we talk about is marathon day is the celebration of your training. Like this is the day you celebrate the 50 times during, before that you went out and did something to prepare for this day. And the hope is, and everybody, you have a hard time sleeping the night before because you're excited about it, but the hope is you get the stars to align and it's perfect weather with no wind and you've had enough pasta a couple of days beforehand and you were smart about not doing silly things with your body the week before so that you ruined it. But if those stars align, be accepting of that day and go for it. But many times that doesn't happen. Majority of the marathons that I've run, the weather has not been conducive to me wanting or being able to run the paces I've wanted to, or I've injured myself a couple weeks before, so I know the paces I chose. I have to be humble and say, okay, this is what the day is going to give me this, my body's going to give me this, and I'm going to accept that. So if it's a 90-degree day, don't try to run the marathon, Boston Marathon race pace that you had set out to do. Plan on slowing yourself down. If it's a really wet, rainy day, you might need to ask somebody to bring you a pair of dry socks and shoes at a certain mile marker so you're not getting blisters so bad by mile 20 you can't even walk. So there's all those little things that you can think about along the way. But in the end, you have to take what the race day will give you and be okay with that.
Well, and we're hoping, after the last couple of years we've had, we keep saying we're due for good weather. So I'll knock on wood again.
Yeah,
That's
it's like perfect weather. It's gonna be awesome, right?
what we're hoping.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man. Well, I think I'm going to wrap us up. This has been super fun getting back with you and learning more about training, and I'm sure we'll be talking again. Thanks to everyone that's been watching. As always, you can throw any of your questions at us, put them in the comments on this post. You can send us an email at info@foxcitiesmarathon.org. And we'll just keep sharing these. So if you got questions, let us know and we'll be back. So thanks again, JP, for joining us today.
Thank you, Tara. I appreciate it, and I look forward to the event. I'm really excited this year, and I hope all you runners are excited too. And I hope I don't have to see many of you where I work beforehand. So stay healthy, be smart, be humble, be kind to yourself, and enjoy the day because it's going to be a great day.
Awesome. I love it. Well, good luck, everyone, in your training, and we'll see you this September.
Thank you.